tangible value of gifts, the unwritten rules of giving, and how, this is a word that is too hard for me to pronounce, reciprocity affects the social value. So our speaker, Edie, has been an instrumental person in this group, since the beginning. We met with her at, I think there's the Foster City group, and we borrowed her. So now she became part of our group, our leadership group, and we're very happy to have her here. So I will let Edie introduce herself, because she didn't share with me too much about her. And enjoy.
This before and try to manage everything at the same time. Actually, I kept my bio simple because I'm basically a simple person. I've struggled like everybody else, and I've moved all over the place and been to different things and done lots of different things and enjoyed really all of it. It was not what I call the planned life, and it probably was more enjoyable because of that, because when it's like, if you have a goal and you don't reach it, you might kind of get disappointed. But if you don't have any goals, wherever you go is great. so anyway, I just try to kind of roll with the flow, and that's always worked for me. So anyway, so I wanted to talk about gifts and giving because Nicole had done a presentation previously on business giving, and I thought, oh no, I was going to do that one. But anyway, I started looking at it because I really wanted to do something, because I have an ulterior motive here. But I really wanted to look into it and get a little bit more information. And I was really interested. I love to give. I love to give gifts, and I love to get gifts and do all that kind of stuff. But I really had never thought about it before, not given it a lot of thought. So I thought, well, I'm just going to check this out. And what I learned I thought was pretty interesting, so I thought, well, I'll share this with you. Okay, so raise your hands if you like to get gifts. Okay, raise your hands if you rather give gifts. Okay, so how many of you, think about this, how many of you have ever had any conflicts with friends or family about gifts? Okay, have you thought about why? Well, that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. I'm gonna just kind of cover the basic stuff, and I didn't really think about any of these things either, so maybe this will be new to you too. Okay, well, so get on to basics. What is the gift? All right, it's obviously something tangible. At least in this particular case, we're going to just talk about the tangible gifts. All right, not the gifts of you personally, but tangible gifts. It's something that's voluntarily transferred by one person to another, with no consideration of compensation, okay? And probably no expectation of compensation. And like I said, they can be intangible too, but that's like a whole nother story, so we're not going to go there. Now, just giving a gift, it sounds like a really simple thing, but when you start adding the emotions, the rituals, the values, the expectations, family cultures, economic status even, okay? Individuals' passions and principles, and to add to that all, the perceived depth of relationships, it becomes a lot more complicated. So if you're thinking that this is a simple thing you're doing, it really isn't, okay? And so let's talk about what a gift maybe should be. A thoughtful gift is presumably what we always want to give, all right? And a thoughtful gift satisfies a few major criteria. First, like the recipient has expressed an interest in or requested it. That would be probably very, I can think of one really easy situation for that, and that would be if you have a spouse. Chances are if you've been together more than a year or two, somebody has said, well, why don't you get me, it's usually an easy one, okay? the gift usually, a thoughtful gift usually offers some practical benefit to the recipient. Could be a jacket, maybe for a child because their winter's coming or whatever. It also reflects the personal interests, of the recipient. So it probably is going to be a family member, or a close friend that you're going to be doing this with or giving this to. And it also stimulates the recipient's sense of nostalgia, by triggering some emotional memories or whatever, some things that you had good times with. So it could probably be a friend because it's a shared memory, or it could be all of the above. Okay, that's the thoughtful gift. Okay, and it's probably the best kind because the people that I just mentioned are people that you know, and that's more than likely going to be who you're going to get the gift for. There are some occasions when you would get gifts from people you don't know, but it's going to be more in a business situation, or I don't know. We'll talk about some of the other situations that you can get into that way. But even with all this likely criteria, there still are things that come up, like for example, Valentine's Day. That's a whole different set of criteria, because when you purchase a Valentine's gift, it assumes that the person you're going to give it to, you have some kind of romantic connection with, right? It's not just your average, ordinary gift that's thoughtful. It might even have an ulterior motive. And Americans have created this consensus of what represents a romantic connection. Because they say, mostly, if you think about it, for a Valentine's Day gift, it pretty much should be red or heart-themed, or come in some form of chocolate, jewelry, or lingerie. So, you get where all that romantic connection is there. They have actually studied, I shouldn't say they is psychologists at Davis yet, say that men are typically more price conscious and practical when it comes to the gifts they give and get. And while women tend to be more concerned about giving and receiving gifts with emotional significance. Okay? And then even gender differences, they actually start early in life. They did a study on these children, 3 and 4-year-olds, in a daycare center, and all these kids had been to the same birthday party, okay? And it turns out that all the little girls had gone with their mommies to pick out the gift, to wrap it, and all the little boys, none of them even knew what the gifts were. So, that's the big difference. Gift giving is often an obvious way for a partner to connect with, with someone else and show interest at least, or even strengthen a bond. It can even be a signal that the relationship should be ending. Okay, like this one associate researcher said that she knew her marriage was over when her husband handed her a gift in a brown paper bag. So if you get a gift in a brown paper bag, think about it. But the biggest effect of gift giving probably is the effect on ourselves. Giving to others reinforces our feelings for them and makes us, effective and caring. Like they did another study that sounds really frivolous. They researched pet owners giving. And pet owners typically give gifts to their pets that provide them with even more care and, comfort. And while this sounds a little frivolous to do research on pet owners giving gifts to their pets, it actually brings out gives us insight, I should say, into the self-serving nature of giving. Because pets can't really reciprocate. And reciprocation is often, as I'm going to tell you in a minute, a big part of this whole problem with gifting and how you do it. Many people don't like to give gifts. I mean, they just absolutely don't want to give gifts. They don't want to receive gifts, and they just think of gifts, especially at the holidays, as a major problem with materialism. Okay? So people have different ideas, And psychologists say, it's not really a good idea to ban giving gifts at all, because you lose your connection with people. And people, again, they don't realize, just what kind of connections they have with something as, quote, simple as a gift. So they also lose out on a lot of social cues. They say that your gift list is telling you who is the most important in your life. And not only who is the most important, but who is more and less important, depending on where they are on the list. Okay? The real intangible value of giving the gift is, I think, probably in the pleasure of the giving. And then identifying the people who are on the list of the people that you give to. So here's the thought. Did you know that there are unwritten rules of gift giving? Anybody ever thought of this? I haven't. Okay, so the unwritten rules of gift giving are important because they basically determine how much, what, and to whom we give. And they really, these rules only live in your mind, in your expectations. And probably, think about all the times that you've given gifts back and forth to different people. Have you ever talked to them about what your rules are for gift giving? Did you even know you had any, I guess, is the first good question, So anyway, these unwritten rules are really important in terms of what we do, what actions we take and how we react. Because, like, for example, I don't know about you guys, but have you ever, and I didn't realize that this was one of the unwritten rules that I hadn't thought about, but have you ever gone to, like, say for Christmas, and you're putting, stockings together for the kids or whatever, and as you're putting all this together in the final big push before, Santa comes and all that, you realize that the stocking for your son is not as full as the stocking for your daughter. So like, oh God, and you know how kids are always, they're looking at how fair you are, they're counting the presents, okay? Well, other people do that too, but adults even. But then, if you haven't figured out what's important to you as far as gift giving and what your rules are, then you're liable to run to the store, grocery store probably, because nothing else is open, run to the store and go to the toy aisle and grab a few things just so you can have something to put in the stocking. Because, quality is really not the issue. So those kind of things can happen if you really don't have a grip on what your philosophy is. Or, you've probably seen and been to parties or maybe family events and stuff where there's somebody in your family who makes things. They sew or they knit or whatever. Well, I think crafters notoriously have this problem because typically they like to knit, so they knit things for people. Well, some people really, don't care that much for knitted stuff, even though they've spent tons of time on it. And maybe even a lot of money. Yarns are not cheap anymore. So those are the kinds of things that happen when you make something for somebody and you're so expecting, like the crafter, they're so expecting everybody to be so tickled with it and so appreciative of how much time's been spent and all that. And the person who opens it and they get this look on their face like, oh no, what is this? So anyway, so if you follow your version of unwritten rules, it can lead you to conflict if you're not really careful about how you're doing that. So here's let me tell you what the 4 unwritten rules of gift giving are. You'll recognize these. See if you can figure out where if you've experienced these. First one is get a gift, give a gift. Okay? And this is all about reciprocity, that comes up. So here's an example. You have a neighbor, it's Christmas time, your neighbor comes to your door, day before Christmas, and she brings you a whole big basket of, quick breads or cookies or something like that. And of course you thank her and graciously, but you think to yourself, oh God, I haven't done anything like that. Haven't gotten anything for the neighbors, never mind baking stuff. Okay, because that's a whole nother level of effort, okay? So you have just been tripped up by your expectation of reciprocity because the belief which is the belief that for every gift received, one must be given, okay? So In most cases, reciprocity is a good thing. It's pretty even and fair. But you know, when you have a situation that's a like-for-like exchange right now happening and you're not prepared, then you know it doesn't take into consideration that knee-jerk, you know, reciprocity doesn't take into consideration differences like resources, intent, ability, or time. Your neighbor likes to bake. She's good at it. She enjoys her gift giving to the neighborhood. And you don't have the same talents or pleasures, but you feel compelled to reciprocate anyway. So you'll probably go get a cake mix or something and try to do something to reciprocate in kind. So that creates a problem. There are some ways that you can, all of these unwritten rules, you have ways to get out of it. I mean, you have ways to accommodate it. If you feel, for example, first of all, you have to know your comfort limits, okay? Is it really important for you to give back when somebody gives you something? You feel that, you know, that need is absolute, that you have to do that? And if so, there are things you can do. You plan ahead, set aside a few just in case gifts, generic gifts, you know, regardless of male or female or whatever, so that you're going to be ready for the next surprise. It's not difficult to overcome. Or, if you're not so tied up with the issue of immediate reciprocity, then, you know, they say it's more important, maybe even better, to focus on your response. So instead of feeling like you have to run out with your, you know, wallet and buy something, give them what they probably would value more than that, and that is, instead of thinking, oh, well, thank you, and, you know, see ya, and all that, you just immediately say, this is so great, it looks so good, let's just sit down, and I'll make some tea, and we'll talk. You know, I mean, they would really probably appreciate that a lot more. Okay, because if they're coming to your house to do this, it usually says that they're missing some kind of connection. I'm not a psychologist, but just logically. Then this next one is even Steven. Oh, and this is really a biggie. Is fairness and equality part of the value equation? So this is what this is about. Like, okay, you have a fashionista sister, right? And you go to the store and you find this incredible bargain on this gorgeous sweater. It's natural fiber, it's just everything she would like. And normally you wouldn't be buying it because it's very expensive, but this is a like to die for bargain. So you buy it for your sister. So you're packing all this stuff together to, you know, bunching your stuff up for the family gifts. And you set the box of the sweater right next to the book you bought for your brother. And you're looking at it going, it's not equal. Even though they cost the same, you know, the value, the luxury value of the sweater is not equal to the book. So what do? You know, you can put the sweater away to give to your sister when it's her birthday, and so there's like not a comparison issue. Or you get a gift card to add to the book that you're going to give to your brother. You know, or you could just give it to him anyway. I mean, that's certainly another option. But, you know, those are things that I think maybe in some little ways, many of us have run into that issue. And, you know, again, it's an issue of equality. Do you give gifts to family members? Do they all have to be equal value? Do you give the same gift to you know, value to your mom and your dad as your brothers and sisters? You know, and then even more importantly, like with the sister, if you gave her the sweater, okay, knowing that it is this valuable sweater that you got this heck of a deal on, if she gives you something of lesser quality, are you going to be offended? Are you going to feel disappointed, I should say, maybe not offended, but disappointed? You know? And those are the kinds of little things on top of all of the, you know, hustle and bustle and emotions of holidays and stuff. Those are the little things that set it off. You know, look out. And you'll probably never know what hit you. And then the third one is once begun, never undone. In other words, what expectations has your gift giving created? Now, I have a really good example of this, okay? I'm the oldest in my family, so I have 2 younger brothers. So when they got married and they started having children, I thought, oh, I have this great idea.